Technical difficulties has forced me to do a voiceover of my video. During this first pre-reading lesson, we did a skimming and scanning where the students were given an article or passage to read and instructed to skim and scan it by looking at the photograph and the first and last paragraph and then the title of the article. I started off by asking the students if they know what an ecosystem is and what a healthy ecosystem looks like and why it's so important to us. A few students answered that an ecosystem is full of trees and bugs, and I said that's right. And they said a healthy ecosystem is no pollution and sunlight. After giving directions to the students, they got into groups and skimmed and scanned the article, highlighting some important things and underlining other things that they thought were important. The students were given 7 minutes with their group to predict and pick out important things in this passage. I gave a 2-minute warning, and then we decided to discuss the passage as a class. We talked about our first impressions, our fast facts that the students came up with, and some final thoughts, and we put that all in the 3-column chart that I have drawn out on the whiteboard. I asked the students to help me fill out this 3-column chart, and they said their first impressions were the forest based off of the photograph in the passage, and one girl said a big hump, which was pictured in the photograph. The students didn't give out too many answers because I think they were still nervous with me in the classroom, but for some fast facts, I asked what the students learned from the article or some facts that they know, and one student said humans need air to breathe. Another student said all living things interact with each other, and that all things are important in the ecosystem and to keep it healthy. Now we started talking about final thoughts, which is kind of just a wrap-up of what the students thought of the overall article. And I only had one response, and she said carbon dioxide and oxygen are gases. And she kind of explained that she really didn't realize this before. She obviously knows what oxygen is, but did not realize it was a gas. To wrap up the pre-reading strategy lesson, I asked the students if they had any further questions about the ecosystem and that we would pick it up on Friday, which would be the next time I would go there, and continue the reading and post-reading strategy. to build on what we did on Wednesday. So if you can find that article that I brought you guys that you can skim through, you still have it.
Which one?
Oh yeah, right here goes here.
Which one?
Do you want them to follow along? Do you want the third graders to follow along?
They can do the same thing.
Okay.
I partner a lot with somebody if I don't know.
Yeah, I brought one extra. So if you guys want to group
I
every,
can Oh, it's
we just have them sit together then.
I'll partner them up with somebody that already has. Kanan, go sit by Denver. Jacob, you're okay. And Noah, you got one. Alright, there we go.
Okay. Alright, so we kind of skimmed through it last time, and this time we're going to actually like thoroughly read it. And so you're going to have about 8 minutes to read the whole thing and kind of gather some important information that you think is important. And like once again, you can highlight things or circle if you want to kind of keep mental notes of what's going on in the article. You don't have to highlight, but you can if you want to. So take about 8 minutes to read the article.
Do you want me to stop it? Or go around and I'll videotape them highlighting readings.
I know verbal paper.
Share with Tyson over here.
Okay, so what did the article kind of talk about that we didn't read about last time? Like what were some specific things that you learned?
I didn't read it last time.
Go ahead.
How they, decomposers are the producers and all of this. How to get their food.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. What were you gonna say?
The food chain cycle.
The food chain. Yep. And how they all work together. Anything else?
Oh, I didn't read it last time.
How what?
I didn't read it last time.
Well, yeah. Okay, so specifically those 3 things that you mentioned. So you said producer, decomposer, and consumer. So with those 3, we're gonna fill out this chart and kind of explain or list out some things of how they're different in those top 3 boxes. And then on the bottom box, you're gonna write out some things of how they're similar. 3rd grade, you guys can do this if you want, or work with your buddy.
I don't work with my class. I'm sure the class. I'm just for a ton of money.
They're not.
So write down what they are. I mean what they do.
Both. Yes.
What they are and what they do.
Yep.
Bacteria.
Top secret.
Yeah? Can somebody tell me one thing that they put in the decomposer box?
Yes.
Yes.
Air are living things that can make their own energy. Get their natures from other organisms from waste matter.
Humans are the very, very top thing.
Humans are blue.
What about in the producer box?
Producers get their
It's
energy.
all energy.
They get out there and energy of what they make them.
Right. Okay. How are they similar? What did you put in that box?
Producers are energy. Producers are being and this is a being.
Every bee interacts with other bees.
Right.
Good.
Good.
I gotta make each other.
Okay. So with that, you kind of mentioned the food chain, but how do they all work together? How do they all work together?
The deer makes food for the wolves, the dunes are
And the grass makes food for the deer, and the bacteria makes food for the grass.
Right. In that order.
Not
I'd set backward.
Okay.
Grass makes food.
All right. So it's just a continuous cycle, right? For how plants and animals survive and need each other to survive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna do one more quick thing. You can just kind of put these to the side if you want. But I have these little cards. They call it exit slips. So each one has a different question on it. So not everybody's gonna have the same question. It just kind of lets me know if you guys learned anything or what you learned. So you can write a couple sentences or I guess whatever the question asks you, and then I will take these back. And I'll take your worksheets back when you're done as well. So.
Let's take a system.
So this is kind of like comparing and contrasting. So in each of those three boxes, write what the article said about producers, decomposers, and consumers. And then, like I said at the bottom, how they're similar. And you can talk about the food chain also, like you said. So talk with your buddy if you have one and try to fill it out as best as you can. Some of the responses to the exit slips, I guess this question was name 3 things that can be found in a healthy ecosystem. Producer, decomposer, and consumer, which we talked about in class. This one says, what is one thing you learned about the ecosystem? When several kinds of organisms interact with each other in one particular area is called an ecosystem. Write something new you learned today. I learned about how the ecosystem works, and they're all as important as another. Last one, what new questions do you have about ecosystem? I really like this response because I watched him sit there and think about it. He said, what if there are too many animals and too less predators, which we did not really talk about in class, so I'm glad he thought about it and used his critical thinking skills of what would happen.